Observe closely. The young one, portly in figure, holds a Porsche GT, the bottom of which bears a hole. Crafted from the finest carbon fiber, a hallmark of the SARS model. But here comes the critical part. The carbon fiber undercarriage that Matt removed from the original vehicle did not possess such a hole, although there is a small creature present. Matt still wishes to test if it fits properly. From a technical standpoint, this is indeed the roof panel he requires. Yet he finds himself perplexed, wondering why this roof bears a hole. However, Matt has devised a solution for this issue in the future. Now all parts have been thoroughly resolved. The next step begins with the installation of the supports for both the pillars. These supports are made of a strong union of aluminum and steel. The original sealant and rivets from the factory are required to restore it. Only with the proper materials can this be reassembled. Before securing the rivets and roof components, it is essential to ensure that all connections are smooth and level. The rivet holes must also be carefully prepared. Once the surface area has been cleaned, Matt must use large iron clamps to secure everything. This ensures that it does not shift. This is the original Porsche sealant. Matt ordered it as a free item along with the Porsche parts. In foreign lands, these small details are highly personalized. Purchasing the sealant separately costs £500, though when purchasing parts, the official shop will not provide the repair manual. But in some ways, it is rather considerate. Now, the panel sealant has been evenly distributed on the new panel. Matt may now place it on the structural panel. Then he will secure it in place with rivets. The rivets successfully pass through the holes he had drilled earlier. Once the rivets are all secured, underneath the support bracket, a self-tapping screw must also be secured. Matt uses his own weight to test the sturdiness of the support bracket. It seems quite solid. Not bad. At last, the damaged support bracket for the roof is fixed. Progress continues smoothly. The next step is for the elder to begin cleaning the pillar support bracket. This is the next thing to repair. Not only that, but much more awaits. In the matter of details, Matt is most meticulous. He must craft a perfect arc. This is the most crucial task. However, this is but an easy task for Matt, for he has once restored to GT3 South, and both were restored to perfection. Now, the new support is to be mounted and secured at the top of the existing panel, then at the connection of the existing panel. The cutting position must be marked, though Matt has never encountered such grave issues. With the GT3 South, he handled them with utmost perfection, and all this was accomplished with his father. Yet Matt has never been boastful, for he is already quite formidable. Now he begins to cut away the excess of the support bracket. During the process, one must be cautious of the smoothness of the cutting edge. Such a small piece. Matt spends 30 minutes cutting, and the excess of the support bracket is perfectly removed. Now the new support bracket may be installed. Let us see if there are any gaps. This is the first time Matt himself attempts cutting, for previously it was Jack who did the work. Matt himself believes the result is quite good. He handled the details excellently. The fitting is superb. Look at this detail, it is perfectly aligned. Once welded, there will be no major issues. Observe, Matt does not wish to weld and damage the internal structure of the frame. Thus, he prepares to treat a piece of existing metal to place underneath. Afterward, he will place it into the panel and secure it. Then he will use the welding gun to fasten them. First, the sealant must be applied to the metal panel. Then it will be secured in place. Next, the support bracket that is to be welded is prepared. Once the panel has bonded securely, Matt may proceed to clean the bonding area of the support bracket, the contacting parts. This will ensure a better fit. Thus, the panel will bond perfectly. We can now be 100% sure of the panel's fitting. Will bond correctly once cleaned. It is time to bond the two parts of the panel in place to ensure an even distribution across the entire panel. This is crucial for the proper fit. Matt is carefully spreading it evenly across the panel. Now it's time to secure it. If not handled properly, once secured, it would be very difficult to undo and repair. Once secured, the places requiring rivets must also be planned. Then along the front and roof sections, the internal structure of the support bracket must be wrapped, and all rivets secured to the internal structure. This completes the task. Now, the support bracket is nearly complete. Only a small gap remains, which must be welded. Then, the weld area must be smoothed to make it perfectly smooth. Observe, there is a slight dent at the rear of the car, although it is a bit difficult for Matt to handle. This section must still be repaired. After completing one side of the support bracket, the process for the other side has become much simpler. Now, both sides of the support bracket are fixed. Only a little finishing work remains. Matt plans to leave the final task to his good friend, Bob. He has been a mechanical engineer for many years. His welding skills are exceptional, so it would be better to leave this to him. Bob is to weld two aluminum plates together, as this requires very specialized skills. Matt's MIG welding work is of no use here, especially because this welding on the visible panels requires far more technical expertise, and precise temperature control is also required, or the panels could be burnt through. But Bob is confident in his skills. He handled the support bracket work with great expertise. After welding, he begins to clean the welding marks on the surface. A grinding wheel is used for this, to make it smooth and even. Bob quickly completes all the work. Let us now observe the final result. Who does welding the best? Of course, it's Bob, who has been to Shandong Langxiang, the mighty Shandong Langxiang Vocational Technology College. The support bracket has now been fully restored, but Matt has an even more important engine to repair. Observe closely, these are all the parts of the GT3 2S engine. Now everything has been fully dismantled, as the rust inside was far too severe. Matt had no choice but to do so. Moreover, Matt spent £20,000 to purchase a brand new steel block. The previous steel block, the surface coating had been completely worn away. This is a completely new steel block. Although the old block could be repaired, the coating process would be quite troublesome. And with this, it will be as good as new, just like from the factory. Because these engine parts are very delicate, to ensure performance, only new parts will do. After obtaining the new block, it is now time to assemble the parts at the rear. Everything must be assembled. Thus, the first step is to disassemble this steel block. Then he and his father must figure out how to assemble this engine structure. This is Matt's first attempt at assembling such a complex engine. The first thing to note is to split it in half from the middle, because Matt doesn't need to worry about this side. This engine has only run a few hundred kilometers. So now all the parts Matt is using are the original components. They are all brand new. This is a special tool. It is used to install the pistons. To squeeze the piston rings into the pistons, the 3 pistons on the front have been installed swiftly. Quickly, The 3 pistons on the front have all been installed. Now, there are the 3 pistons on the other side. However, the orientation of the other pistons on the horizontal plane adds to the difficulty. Now, we must flip the cylinder block over. Now, we can see the bottom of the control system. Next, we move on to the crankshaft, but you cannot place the crankshaft on exposed aluminum that requires bearings. But before installing the crankshaft, there are some shims that still need to be removed. So we must remove these parts first. Then we will install them. After that, the crankshaft will be installed into the block. They are in an unworn condition. Matt saved a significant amount of money here. They are almost unused. These bearings are used for the crankshaft rotation. Remember, this vehicle's RPM can reach up to 9,000 RPM. This is quite terrifying. Without them, it simply cannot work. Thus, this is an essential part. Matt must also be extremely careful. He must install it with great care. No mistakes can happen. There are many small rubber seals. We need to remove them from the old block and install them into the new block. After successfully installing these parts, the forward and backward movement within the cylinder block will become smoother. After installing the rubber gaskets around, the engine now returns to about half of its factory settings, effectively restored. Though this vehicle's fate has been unfortunate, after repairs, it is once again in great shape. The torque at this position is 109. This is Matt's area of expertise. Matt spent a long time searching online before finding the torque specification for these large end bearings. It's important to note, the bolts must be tightened to 10 degrees, then tightened to 30 degrees, and then turn to 109 degrees. This is the factory torque specification. Now, the crankshaft on this side has been installed. The bottom rods and pistons are inside the cylinder block, but the method on the other side is completely different from the current installation method. Father is now installing the engine chain structure and the middle gasket. Then they will assemble them together. The installation of the cylinder head and pistons is now complete. On this side, the young one is also applying putty to the welded parts of the body, preparing it for painting. Then he uses tape to mask the areas that do not require painting. This ensures that the body lines remain perfect. This operation will ensure that the body lines are perfectly maintained. Both sides of the welds must undergo this procedure. Matt is now at the final step, installing the bolts. At present, the dent at the rear of the car. Matt attempts to restore it using a special method. This method is quite common, the seamless muscle repair technique. It is a truly remarkable technique. It takes at least 10 years of experience to master. It requires tapping the panel at the correct position. The delicate, slow tapping removes the scars. Observe closely here. The dent at the rear of the car is quickly restored by the young one. After polishing the paint, the aluminum body inside has also been restored. This GT3 22S is undergoing massive restoration work from the body to the engine. Many people would give up by this point. The exterior of the body is slowly looking much better. It is clear to see that the appearance is slowly returning to its peak condition. Moreover, the young one and the elder are also working on repairing the interior and side wings, cutting the structure to shape the rear quarter. Once repaired, they can weld it back into place and weld all the cracks and seams of the rear quarter. The engine not only has valves. Between the valves, there is also a very small electrical switch. Matt must take them out and mark them, including exhaust and intake. This is the exhaust. Each one will have a different measurement value. Matt must remember all of this. How these gaskets are placed on top of the valves. Now, the rocker arms are successfully secured at the bottom. If we remove the valves and clean the valve tops onto the cylinder head, then this part must be ground down. Otherwise, the valves risk coming too close to the inside of the cylinder head. This would damage it. This means they will extend more at the top. Thus, the gasket between the rocker arm and the valve must be smaller. It needs to be ground down. Then, Matt will also need to reorder some gaskets to continue testing, ensuring they are more stable. There is one more thing. Matt must ensure that the engine cylinders rotate in the correct position. Thus, we use this tool here. It engages with the crankshaft to rotate the engine. Thus, the cylinder on the right is pointed upwards. Matt previously left a mark on the pulley, so this is quite convenient. Then this lock is tightened in to keep the engine in the correct position. Though this method carries some risk, Matt will still give it a try. Now, Matt must install the camshaft for the engine, but he will open and close the intake valves. This matrix section should be facing upwards. This tool that slots in here locks it in place. Thus, it is entirely correct. But I think we will push on to this step. The exhaust camshaft has arrived. You'll notice this doesn't have a transmission. The end looks like a cracked wheel because we removed it. When installing these, Matt's method is somewhat of a shortcut, but he has his own unique ideas for the repair. To fix it, we use these bolts to secure the camshaft. Then we must try to slide the exhaust camshaft on the transmission gear. This sprocket needs to have the chain fixed and placed on top. However, since Matt hadn't removed the intake ports earlier, he encountered some difficulty during the installation. Matt worked at it for a while, and finally, he resolved this small issue. We're on! So these are on, but we still will be able to spin the crankshaft and keep that in the same spot. Okay. Now, we know the bottom hole for the engine is in the right place because we put the pin in. We've got to make sure that the cam shafts are in the right position before we tighten everything down. We don't want any valves hitting pistons because the engine is tight. But before we did that, we realized we made a huge mistake. We used them, but it's a good job we spotted it now, and not when we were about to start it. Could you please look at how fresh it is? Was it hard to promise? The good news is that the tough work is now ready for paint. No dents in the quarters and you'd never know. It's had a completely new appeal. The guys at the body shop have smashed it here. Now we've got to choose what color to go for. It's not going pink, but it's not going white, and it's not going black. It's going to be a color that's a little bit different, so I'm hoping it turns out really nice. We're going to see that in the next video because now we've got to strip apart that engine and rebuild it all. over again the next time. This will all be painted. That's so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. And I'll see. I've been very busy today. I watched my son drilling holes. How's your day? Man, I've been drilling holes, but that's been watching me.